Hey everybody, it's Jimmy and Bill. Bill, what we're talking about today is everybody we talk to around here seems like they're from New York or California or Illinois, okay? And we've done videos about pros and cons of moving to Florida. We've done plenty of those.
Yeah.
And so, we say, okay, yeah, people are moving here because the weather's beautiful, because fishing, because golf,
Yeah.
But there's other reasons why it's smart to move to Florida from high tax states. Okay, there's reasons. People, the obvious is, we want to get away from the snow. We want, the beaches. We want the boating. All the stuff that we always talk about. But we're going to talk about today is why technically, because of the tax laws and different things that Florida does, why it's smart to move to Florida. Okay? Obviously, this is 20 reasons why I wrote down. We're not going to go over all of them, but we're going to go over some of them, why people are moving here on a business sense of it, the business aspect of moving here.
That makes sense.
Okay? In the meantime, do me a favor. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel, and it's greatly appreciated. Okay. So, basically, no state income tax, okay? We said always, pros and cons. This state doesn't have income tax. New York has an income tax. California has a really high income tax. Illinois, all the really, expensive states. But we also had cons about that, too. Remember, we were talking about...
you get higher insurance rates, various things, so it's kind of like a wash, perhaps. Perhaps.
But a lot of people are saying, just for the income tax, they will only, like me, like when I lived in Wyoming or New Hampshire, those are no income tax states. I don't think I would move to a state that has an income tax. Maybe I'm just too lazy to do the taxes at the end of the year.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't know. I live in Florida. I don't think I would move to a state that's going to cost me more money.
Right.
I would have to honestly, if you were going to do it, I would weigh out, depends on where you're at in your life, obviously. If you've got a business, you have to weigh that out. If you're, retired and not working, you'd have to weigh those total numbers out, cost of living, lifestyle, things like that. I would have to put all that into the equation.
Here's another reason why people are moving here from those states. This is not true about every other state. And like for me, lower property taxes. Now, let me explain this a little bit, okay? I don't think Florida's property taxes are cheap, especially with people just moving here. But compared to New York, let's say, I don't know much about California, and from what I understand, California's property taxes aren't that bad. That's what I've heard. I think they're expensive everywhere else, but compared to like Illinois and New York, they're actually getting a tax break here.
But their prices of properties are through the roof.
Right.
Like I had a client that called and he wanted, he was investing, we'll call him an investor. He was doing an investment property here because he likes to vacation in Florida. So his thought was, hey, if I vacation in Florida all the time, well, how about I buy a property and then do mid and short-term rentals, and explore those options. But in a place where that his family could come and use it when he wants to. And I'm like, totally makes sense. So he gave me the criteria, which was very hard to find, simply because he's like, okay, I want no more than really probably 1,500 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, and right around in the $1.5 million range.
Is that insane?
And I kind of was like, I let him talk, but then I asked him, I said, well, and I knew he was from California, but that's what the prices of homes are there.
Yes.
And I was like, no, you could buy 3 houses for that here.
I know. It's just ridiculous. Like one guy over here, I said, dude, between your taxes and your insurance, you're paying $14,000 a year. He goes, yeah, isn't that such a deal?
Right. Like and
it's blowing my mind. Yeah. I'm like,
we live in this bubble sometimes here and we think it's insane.
Here's another reason why on the business aspect, people are just moving here that are really considering things more than the weather and the other benefits of living in Florida. Homestead exemptions. Florida offers homestead exemptions that can reduce your taxable value of primary residence, lowering property taxes. And now they changed the law. It just voted on it. I don't know all the details, but it's going to be attached to the cost of inflation. So basically, it was just voted on. And so if inflation, say, goes up 6%, your exemption goes up 6%. There's an exemption. It was just passed in this past election.
Just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, the homestead exemptions, because if you have a taxable, if you're just using it as an investment property, you're going to be paying a lot more than if you're living in there because they give you a deduction.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I guess that would, I'm going to have to read on that because I would like to learn a little bit more about that one. Now that it actually passed.
Yeah, it passed and stuff. We'll probably do a whole video on that one.
Yeah, that'd be a good video.
Here's another reason why people are moving to Florida, business-wise, is because corporate tax incentives. Florida's become an attractive place to do business due to lower corporate tax rates. And I agree with that 100%. One of the reasons I moved here, other than fishing, was I like to start businesses. And just like Wyoming, Florida is very business friendly, business friendly.
Yeah, it's very inexpensive to start a business here, depending on how you set it up. And it's kind of got multiple layers to make it very simple. Either pass through into your personal taxes, or you can set it up as a corp and have a separate tax return. But everything's very simple.
Yeah, talk to an accountant on that, because I found Florida very, very business friendly. Okay. Here's another thing that's important to me too, especially because I'm investing in Florida real estate compared to New York and some other states and everything. No inheritance tax. I just looked up.
Correct.
A lot of states, and I think, don't quote me on this, ask your accountant, but New York has an inheritance tax. Florida is one of the few states that do not have an estate or inheritance tax, which is a huge advantage for those looking to pass down their wealth.
Yeah.
I'm looking to pass down some stuff to my kids, and I don't want them taxed to death, so I own stuff in New York,
Yeah.
I got rid of everything.
Yeah, it's neat, and it's as long as it stays, because it can always get voted out. But one of the other things is if a spouse passes, you actually have a 2-year window here to, I don't know if this is national, but I just know in Florida that this is the way it is, that you have a 2-year window to sell your house and you don't pay any capital gains on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, if you do it within 2 years of the passing of your spouse, if you need to sell your home.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because it really helps out in a tough time.
Well, what about this one? You're talking about, maybe that's what you're talking about. No capital gains tax. Is that what you're talking about?
That's probably what it, yeah, okay.
Florida does not impose a state level capital gains tax, unlike New York, which taxes capital gains on ordinary income.
Yeah, maybe it is. I mean, this was just specifically if a spouse passed. You have a 24-month, 2-year window from the passing date.
Yeah, and some of these things could have changed in New York, but how about this one? Sales tax on the necessities. While Florida does have a state sales tax, it is lower than New York's in many essential items such as groceries, medicines, and exempt from tax. And we have the tax holiday every year too, right?
Right, for the school supplies and such.
School supplies?
Yeah.
And don't we have one for hurricane supplies?
Yeah, so there's a certain date for hurricane supplies that you don't have to pay taxes on. Certain items, it's not everything, but certain items you don't have to pay. Flashlights, batteries. I'm trying to remember if, it's been so long since I bought my generator. I don't remember if generators are in there, but there's a list. You can go to the website and
I think generators are. I bought a generator once during the holiday and I didn't have to pay sales tax on it.
Yeah, and because that's a big savings because generators are expensive.
Yeah.
So that makes it really does save you a couple $100.
Yeah.
On a generator.
No, it's awesome. So here's another thing why people move here, other than the obvious. Tax-friendly for retirees. Florida is known for being particularly tax-friendly for retirees, with no state income tax that we talk about on pension or Social Security benefits.
Well, we don't have state tax.
Well, no, but they don't tax the Social Security and the pensions either, according to the list.
How so?
I don't know. That's what it came up as.
So I don't pay income tax on my pension?
I guess not. I'm not sure. I talked to the tax accountant, but when I came up with the list...
Because I pay taxes every year.
Well, it says with no state income tax on pensions or Social Security benefits.
Okay, so we don't have a state income tax.
State income tax.
So you still pay your federal income tax.
Oh, yeah, you're paying the federal. I'm talking about state.
But Florida doesn't have a state income tax, period.
But sometimes some states, will have a separate.
States, yeah.
They'll have a separate.
Okay.
Like in New Hampshire, I'm not sure. I know they didn't have an income tax on income, but I don't know. I think they might have taxed pensions.
Okay.
So that's
on the state level. So yeah, I gotcha. Although there was some talks of changing some rules around the federal stuff on pensions and certain other benefits, not taxing them.
That would be awesome for a lot of people.
Yeah, because you're retired. If you're drawing like Social Security, you would pay tax. You would pay a state and federal tax on that if your state had that. But there was some talks of trying to eliminate that.
I saw something on TV and I found it interesting, okay, that people were talking about, especially with the election and everything. Mm-hmm. Getting rid of income tax. Tell me what you guys think about this. Getting rid of income tax altogether and just having tariffs. And somebody on TV said, for a long time, we didn't have income taxes at all. It was all tariffs.
Yeah, okay. I remember that. Yeah,
The United
Not
States,
like remember it, but I remember the conversation.
Yeah, the United States lived on nothing but tariffs. So anything that was imported, to say there was a 10% tariff, and that's how the government survived everything. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have an income tax. Some people are saying we should go back to that. What do you guys think? Having like a 10%, 15% tariff, and all the goods that come in. At the end of the day,
aren't you just moving it?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, like it's just moving from here. So it's kind of like, remember this was 10 plus years ago. They were doing this thing where they wanted to do away with
a consumption tax.
And it was consumption. So they would raise on what you purchased. So you would pay a little more tax on what you purchased.
Yeah.
For the thing. So it's just moving the shell to somewhere else. But it kind of made sense.
Yeah, if you want that Ferrari, you're going to be paying.
You're going to be paying.
You're going to be paying extra, say, income tax on it,
Right. Or a federal income tax, because we don't have, a
consumption tax. But they're saying, why don't we just do a national tariff? What do you guys think? You guys think that's a good idea to do a tariff on everybody, all the goods that are coming in? It's going to raise the cost of everyday goods that are being imported, but at the same time, they're saying it's going to boost American productivity, they'll produce more here. All right. What about this one? Sunshine State tax reform. Florida tax laws have been consistently reformed to business and resident friendly, attracting newcomers from states like Florida's always trying to find a way to make it easier for people to move here. They're trying to get people to move here.
Of course,
yeah. Here's another one why some people are moving here, and this is one of my reasons. Attractive property investments. When I came down here, I'm like, you know what? I think long term, for the cost return on investment, I think Florida was better for me than New York or New Hampshire.
I guess it could be, depending on where you purchased and when and where,
Well, I always knew,
everything.
I always knew that I could rent the stuff here easier. I've always had, believe it or not, even though my family was living when I lived in New York, 10 minutes away, 5 minutes away, around the block, whatever, big family. But I actually see them more now that I'm in Florida because they're freezing up there, and over here it's like we're in December and it's like 82 degrees.
Yeah, it's second week of December and we're in shorts and t-shirts.
So that's a big thing. But
although it's going to be cold for us in a few days.
So not only is Florida business friendly, but Florida offers incentives for certain businesses to move here, including tax breaks, credit, and job creation. And everybody always said Florida was for hospitality, but that's going away now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just a tourist town. Florida's a lot more. We have so much. We have colleges, we've got research hospitals, cancer facilities. There's a lot.
Okay, favorable tax treatments for LLCs, like we talked about. Okay, talk to your accountant about that one. Lower cost of living overall, just the lifestyle. From New York and California and Illinois and some other states, it's cheaper here.
Yeah.
Like I traveled, I know I complain about the cost of living in Florida. and I'll continue complaining about the cost of living in Florida, but I'll complain about the cost of living anywhere I go. But overall, when I go to New York,
it's a lot more expensive.
A lot more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, if you just take the basics, like you go out to a restaurant. I mean, obviously it's more expensive here too, but we're even noticing, depending on the restaurant we go to on the weekend or what have you, how much we spend, especially with family in town. We gauge our bill. It's our kind of our joke now. We take a bet on how much we spent, with food, and there's a marked difference depending on the restaurant you go to. But some of my family did travel, and it was astronomical. It was a noticeable difference per meal because we generally stay in the same price range. We kind of do. We kind of know where to go, even if we just, throw caution to the wind and go do different restaurants. And it was night and day different out of the state to some of these other big states like New York and things like that.
Yeah. So these are a lot. I keep going, but there's a lot of reasons other than the common pros of moving to Florida. There's cons too, big ones. Humidity, it's ridiculous. So that's why some people leave just because they can't take the first summer here, but you adjust. Traffic, car insurance, homeowners insurance, So there's this, I can go a whole list of cons, but at the same time, I'm working on this other video that we're going to do is, we live along the seacoast. So the people live along the seacoast, of the East Coast and the West Coast, are paying a lot of money for all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I've been doing some research of people moving in the middle of Florida, like middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I went on Zillow and I found some houses like 190, 210, 220. And I'm talking about nice house. I'm not talking about shacks.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
In Florida.
When somebody, I actually talked to somebody the other day, he says, "Oh, is it a good time to buy now? I'm waiting for the 50% crash."
Really?
And it was kind of hard I was kind of like, okay. And it made sense. And I had a couple conversations with various people over the last week or two, just because we've been out more and seeing a lot more people with the holidays and stuff. But it was an interesting conversation. They feel like the market's going to crash by 50% here. And they're like, somehow I really kind of lost track of how they tied it into other areas like around Orlando, where it is less expensive to live when you get outside the main area. But if you get outside of our main area here, it is significantly less to live because nothing's close. You have to trade off a little bit.
Well, yeah, but that's the whole thing is I'm like, because when I was doing research for this one, it's like everybody I talked to is from out of state. And that's why things are changing, because when they came down here through the peak, they would pay an extra $100,000 for a house.
Yeah.
It was nothing for them.
No.
So I'm like, where did the Floridians go? Where did, they're endangered,
Yeah.
So I'm doing research, and a lot of them moved inland.
Yeah, you move inland. The closer you are to the coast, the more expensive it is. And like I said, just even take the east side of Pasco County, into Hernando County, which is moving towards the center part of the state of Florida. You get outside of our area by 10 minutes or so, and there's a $100,000 swing on the same house from the same builder.
Yeah, I was there by you, which was kind of expensive, but then I went into the next town over, Zephyr Hills, and I saw, we talked about in one video, I saw some new construction between, low 300s.
Yeah.
Brand new. They had big signs up. It said, I don't know how low, it says low 300s, so I'm assuming they're talking about $349,099.
Generally, they're in like the 325-ish range for your starting price, and then you can add extras. But a lot of builders aren't doing extras anymore. They're not doing these, go to the build center and pick out everything and make it. They kind of have it preset. Like if you like, we get 4 choices as an example in one builder. You pick, like this house is starting and it's got package A, this house has got package C, this house has package D, and you pick which house you want on the lot, and that's kind of how they judge
but
the
yeah,
price.
But
it's a price control.
Yeah, so I think people now are moving inland.
Yeah.
And I think inland, and we're on the coast. We're like in the most expensive section along the West Coast. We're in Tampa Bay. And I guess we're getting used to these prices, but then after where could somebody buy a $250,000 house or a $300,000 house and it's head inland?
You have to be willing to compromise, and we have those conversations all the time. You've got to be willing to compromise. You're either going to pay more money, or even, and it's hard now, even, because new construction is competing heavily with resale.
Right.
If you're willing to drive an extra 25 minutes on your commute, there's a whole open world for you in different areas.
Yeah, there is.
And a lot of people, which is I find interesting, when you really start digging and talking to people, well, I love the beach. Well, how many times did you go to the beach last year? Mm-hmm. And then they pay all this money to live super close to the beach, and they're like, they only really went out to the beach 6 or 7 times when you count.
Well, if you really think about it, I mean, not only these benefits of why, New Yorkers and Los Angeles and California and Illinois and everybody is moving to the coast because they could afford it. But if you move inland, just a side note, if you move inland, I think you would save probably around 25% overall cost on everything.
Yeah, probably, because I would think that
I'm talking about car insurance,
everything.
Homeowners insurance. Yeah. I'm talking about cost of houses.
Yeah. Well, look, when we went to Orlando that one time, we passed a couple of the car dealerships.
Yeah.
And even some of the trailer places and things like that, because we were looking for a trailer at the time. They were a little less money, noticeably less when we drove by. It's basically the same trailer, but it was noticeably less money. And if you shop, I mean, you can see it online that they're a little bit less money. You got to be a little more outskirts, but sometimes it's worth a 2-hour drive.
Yeah, but anyways, that's today's video. This is why a lot of people are moving here. It's not just the regular pros and cons, but there's other benefits of moving to Florida. And actually, this was not a negative video.
No.
Hey, do me a favor. We really work hard on these videos, do a lot of research goes into these videos. Consider subscribing. I'm trying to reach a certain goal. It's very motivational, and I don't want you guys to miss some stuff that we're working on. And thank you, and we'll talk to you in the next one.
See you on the next video. Thanks.